Are you ready? Yes, please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and audience. My name is Kale Matsaki, and I'll begin. 81. Concluding FTAs. Penetration. 1. Japan cannot conclude FTAs with major business partners such as the United States, China, Korea, and Australia because of extremely high rice tariffs. 社団法人経済同意会 2009. Fourth, Japan's agricultural finance is concentrated on rice, and in negotiations, it's always rice which remains the main problem. Unquote. According to Tanaka 2009, Japan excludes agricultural products, primarily rice, which is a big problem in concluding FTAs, especially with developed countries. This is why negotiations with Australia, the United States, and EU do not proceed at all. Unquote. 2. This causes damage to all industries in Japan. According to Toyo Keizai 2011, EU abolished tariff on vital products from Korea, so now Japanese makers have a huge disadvantage. If Japan keeps protecting particular group profits and FTA negotiations don't advance, Japanese companies will be left behind and employment and competitiveness will be lost. Unquote. Effect. 1. By removing tariffs on rice, the symbol of Japan's protection policy, Japan will be able to conclude treaties with many countries. Sanken News 2013. 4. The United States and Australia are strongly demanding the lowering of rice tariffs. Unquote. 2. As all the tariffs will be removed, Japan can export many things such as cars, machines, and also rice, which will benefit farmers. Unquote. Importance. 1. Even one FTA would drastically improve Japan's economy. Jetro 2012. Quote. Japan will get the biggest benefit from Japan, China, and Korea FTA. Japan's GDP will increase by 1.1%. Unquote. 2. According to Japan Fair Trade Commission 2013, as resources are scarce, Japan's economy has developed by importing fuel sources and processing and exporting them. In 2012, Japan's total trade was 134 trillion yen, 134 trillion yen, which is much higher than Japan's annual budget. As more and more countries are concluding FTAs, if we don't conclude treaties, Japan will be left behind in trade and lose its global market. We must change the situation in which rice tariff will threaten Japan's whole economy. 82. Saving poor people. Penetration. 1. The government has been overprotecting all class farmers with high tariffs and making consumers bear the burdens of high cost. HEnDA Business 2011. Quote. The money used to sustain the high market price is, 1 trillion yen for rice. 1 trillion yen for rice. Consumers have been bearing this cost. Unquote. 2. Poor people are claiming that current food prices are too high. According to Yahoo News 2013, 56% of households getting public assistance can only afford less than 30,000 yen amount for food, and 13% cannot even afford 10,000 yen amount. This means they cannot even afford 300 yen for food per day. 自由報道協会 Tanaka 2013. Quote. A person getting public assistance claimed public assistance was cut since August. Food prices are just too high. I don't know what to cut from my expenditure. Unquote. As a result, poor people are starving. According to Kosei Roadshow 2011, in Japan, 1,746 people starve to death in a year. Unquote. Effect. Cheap foreign rice will be imported. According to MFF 2013, the average pure rice exchange price for Japanese rice was 430 yen for 1 kilogram. On the other hand, California short grain rice is 86 yen. This is 1/5 of Japanese rice. 2. Poor people can buy all rice at cheaper price and they would be able to save 3,000 yen per month. Shirabakushi University of North 2003. Quote. Japanese rice consumers will receive benefits from importing rice from it. The price of rice could drop to half of its current price, and Japanese family could save $30 every month on rice if Japan opens its rice market. Unquote. Importance. Saving 3,000 yen amount means a person will be able to use 100 yen for food more than what he uses now. This will save the lives of the poor people who can only afford 300 yen a day. Nikkei 2013. Quote. A former taxi driver stabbed to death directly after public assistance was stopped. In his diary, he wrote, "I want to eat rice bowl." Unquote. We must implement this plan to save people's lives. Thank you.
Are you ready? Yes. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson and judges. My name is Atsuda. I have some questions. So on your vantage point, you talked about the concluding FTA, is it right?
Yes.
So first of all, which country do you focus on?
Okay, according to our evidence and our presentation and the facts, United States, Australia, China, Korea, and EU.
So you mean that we can conclude an FTA with such all countries?
Oh, well, yes.
So, okay, thank
Because
you.
they're
So
demanding the rights.
do you have evidence that we can conclude with all the countries?
Okay, It agrees not.
So can you prove that?
Well, because those countries want Japan to remove tariffs on rice. So.
Okay, thank you. And you said that so tariff on rice is the obstacle to join to conclude the FTA. Is it right?
Yes.
So is it only obstacle?
Well, look at our presentation. Evidence, two evidences, and we clearly proved that Japan is protecting the rice crops, and that is the
So
obstacle.
is it only obstacle?
Yes. In the
Yes.
last
Yes. Do you have evidence?
Yes.
So please show me the later. So, okay, thank you. So I have just about advantage here. So you said that you talk about saving per people. Is it right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So in the present situation, you said that 1,700 people died
Yes.
during the starvation, but is it because of rice, lack of rice?
Well, it's because because as we proved in our presentation to the evidence, because those poor people cannot afford even 300 yen a day, so that is the reason why.
So because of rice?
Because food prices.
So why this plan is needed to save such 1,700 people?
Because they can save the money from that
Is
is
the money in the buy rice? So why do they have to eat rice?
okay because rice is of course our staple food and they
Staple
eat
food,
rice.
but of course we have other kinds of foods.
But so what we
Why?
are saying in this constructive speech is that we can save the money, not eating rice. So
Okay, thank you. And so after the plan, you said that we can save 3,000 yen in a month.
per month,
Is
yes.
it right? So where your evidence is coming from?
This evidence comes from as we proved in Effect 2, Professor Shiraiwa from University of North Texas 2003.
So the professor calculation, yeah?
Yes.
Calculated. Okay, thank you. And so after the plan, how many people will be saved?
Well, okay, so going back to our presentation, the second, about the people who are getting public assistance or in difficult situation. So
Okay, thank you. That's
Thank you so
all.
much.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Natsuki. We, the Saitama Municipal Law team, believe that Japanese government should not remove the tariff on rice import. Disadvantage when the damage of rice farming. For this situation, rice is Japanese staple food. 88% of Japanese eat rice every day. Thanks to the government support, Japanese rice farming has been developing. According to J in 2013, the productivity of rice farming has been steadily increasing. In addition, Japanese rice is highly evaluated in the world market. So rice export has increased by 45% for 1 year from 2010 to 11. So today's situation is very good. There's no necessity to change this situation effect. However, after the plan, the cheap foreign rice will come because the price of foreign rice is almost half of Japanese rice. According to Rice Staple Supply Organization 2013, about 80% of the Japanese consumers answered price is the most important factor to choose rice. Then Japanese farming will be damaged. According to the professor of University of Tokyo, Mr. Daigo in 2013, rice farmers under 1 hectare will have to stop rice farming even if they can get subsidies. It means about 73% of farmers will have to stop rice farming and 50% of rice production will be lost. Significance. Rice is one of the most important industries in Japan. According to Ministry of Agriculture in 2006, the rice farming is a market of 1.8 trillion yen in itself. In addition, there are rice associated industry. For example, the market of rice mushroom industry is 300 billion yen, and the market of rice fertilizer is 230 billion yen. In total, the market of rice associated industry is about 2.3 trillion yen. If 50% of rice production is lost, 50% of this industry will be damaged. So we can roughly calculate that about 1.1 trillion yen is economically lost. Disadvantage 2, the loss of function of rice field. For this situation, rice fields have very important function of natural environment in Japan. According to the Ministry of Agriculture in 2001, there are 4 functions except rice farming. First, rice fields prevent flood. Actually, rice fields can keep as much water as 60 dams. Second, rice field control water of rivers. Third, rice field prevent soil erosion. If rice fields are lost, more than 5,000 tons of soil will erode. Fourth, rice fields dispose natural waste. According to the Ministry of Agriculture in 2001, these functions are valued at about 5.3 trillion yen in total, so rice fields play an important role in environment effect. However, if we carry out the plan, a lot of cheaper foreign rice will come. According to the professor of University of Tokyo, Mr. Daigo said, farmers less than 1 hectare will give up rice farming. According to 21st Century Public Policy Institute in 2012, 40% of rice field is less than 1 hectare. So by the plan, 40% of rice field will stop rice farming. It means Japan will lose 40% of function of rice field. Significance. 40% of the loss of function will damage the budget of government because government have to make up for 4 functions by alternative ways. The functions are valued at about 5.3 trillion yen. So this damage will be 40% of 5.3 trillion yen. It will be about 2.1 trillion yen. In order to make up for this function from rice field, Japan has to spend 2.1 trillion yen for the alternative waste every year to keep this level of environment. In addition, as long as the government will not make alternative waste, citizens will be damaged by disasters like flood and soil erosion. For this reason, we should not carry out the plan. Disadvantage 1, the damage of rice farming. Japan will lose 1.1 trillion yen rice of industry. Disadvantage 2, the loss of function of rice field. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. Now you have 1 minute preparation time.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and audience. My name is Niku Yamada, and I would like to ask some questions. So first of all, I would like to ask about DA1. So your effect, you said that farmers with farmland under 1 hectare will quit, right? Will have to quit.
Yes,
Okay. Why do they have to quit?
because the farmers under 1 hectare are not so strong to compete, not strong enough to
So
compete with foreign rice.
So is it because they won't get profits?
Excuse me?
So it's because they won't get profits after the plant, right?
Sorry.
Is it because they won't get money after the plant?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And so this is because consumers will buy cheap foreign rice, right? This is because
in fact-
consumers will, yes, in fact, so
Yes,
this will...
80% of Japanese consumers answered price is the most important factor to choose rice.
Okay, thank you. And so your importance is about economical loss, right?
Yes,
Thank you. And it's 1.1 trillion yen.
yes.
Okay, thank you. And how will that affect people's lives? What is important?
Okay, I'll explain. So 1 trillion yen is very big. The loss of this, it will lead the loss of the benefit of companies, and then it will lead the less salary, and then of course it will lead the less consumption. It will definitely discourage today's economic loss.
Okay, thank you. Next, I would like to ask about DA2.
Yes.
So you're important. So do you have any evidence to show that when rice fields are abolished, floods or disasters increase?
Yes. Of course.
Did you prove that in your constructive speech?
In our constructive speech.
Yes.
So as I said, there.
You said that there are many functions of rice
Yes.
fields, right? So that's your
Of
evidence.
course, we have evidence. So for example, there.
Okay. Thank you. So what exactly is the importance? Is it that the economy will get a loss? after the
Of
plant?
course, as long as the government will not alternative waste, citizens will be damaged by disaster. So of
Okay,
course,
so-
it will.
thank you.
And then, of course, the government have to make up for 4 functions by alternative waste. It will cost 2.1 trillion yen every year.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to go back to DA1. In your present situation, you said that Japanese rice is highly evaluated in the world market, right?
Yes.
So then why will, if a Japanese rice is so good, why will consumers buy cheap foreign rice?
Because, as
Because
I
it's
explained,
cheaper.
they just prefer the cheaper rice. So
So it's because it's cheap. Okay, thank you. And so DA2 will happen if farmers quit, right?
excuse me.
DA2 will happen when rice farmers quit, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And so that is because you said that the Ministry of Agriculture said that farmers under 1 hectare will have to quit.
No Ministry of Agriculture. The professor of University of
Oh, sorry.
Tokyo.
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Daigo.
you.
Thank you. Okay.
Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Makoya Masaki. Today I'm a 5 point result about your advantage 1. They said the 3,000 yen will be saved. However, on the advantage 1, they talked about FTA, but it's not true because the tariff is not only the burden. According to Nikkei newspaper in 2013, we have other. Look at this graph. We have other 9 kinds of barriers except for tariff. For example, destruction of infrastructure, protection of intellectual property, and so on. U.S. government requires these things, but they focus on many countries. It means that each country has its demand or its burdens. So we cannot conclude FTA with many countries only by removing tariff on rice. They say, first of all, the merit from FTA will not happen because there are many burdens and burdens except for tariffs. In addition, even if we can join FTA, it is not sure that we can get merit from export. For example, the strong yen or and so on, so that their impact is very small and their process is very, very weak. Next, I write down that their advantage 2. They said the 3,000 yen will be saved. However, they focus on only California rice. However, they did not show that how many people buy the California rice, so their evidence is very unreliable. However, we have very reliable evidence. According to Daiichi Life Research Institute in 2013, even if people buy cheaper rice, each family can save only 625 yen. 625 yen per a month. How many people really need this 625 yen? What can they do? The situation will not change at all. Next, even if they can save 625 yen, it will not be benefit. Our disadvantage too, as we said, 2.1 trillion yen will be lost from our tax every year. However, now there are 500 billion families in Japan, so we can easily estimate that each family will have to pay 3,500 yen per month, so their merit will totally disappear. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We will now have questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and all the audience. My name is Hyogo, and I'll begin. So let's start with 82. So you said in the last time, you said that people have to pay for 2.1 trillion yen, right?
Final thought?
The final thought, you said that people have to pay for 2.1 trillion yen,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So where did you prove that people have to pay for this?
Yes, before.
No, where did you prove that people have to pay for this? Not the government, but the poor people who can afford only 300 yen for a day.
Because on our disadvantage too, the government have to pay the 2.1 trillion yen because to cover the function of public field. So
You're just assuming that. Okay, I'll go to the next question. So you said that only 625 yen will be the benefit, right?
yes,
So why can you say that this evidence is much clearer than and more reliable than our FX2 evidence which say that $30 will be beneficial?
so first of all, your evidence focuses on the only California
Oh, so
rice.
you're only talking about the average amount. Average amount, including people who are wealthy enough to consider about taste and safety and other things.
Sorry, wait,
So
me?
is this data is the only the average of people including people who can afford to buy tasty one because they're wealthy enough?
So, but
Okay, I'll go to the 81. So in 81 you said the merit is too small, but where's the evidence for that?
81.
So 81 you said that in importance the 1.1% of GDP which is little, you said is too little.
First of all, the merit from FTA will not happen because there are many processes.
I understand that,
So-
but and even if it happened, then you said that the importance will be very big, right?
Because the export is very risky. For example, when the yen is strong, the export industry will be less. So the situation is much better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Question time and
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Riko Shimon, and I'll begin. First of all, DA2 only happened when DA1 happened. Please confirm this. Attack 1, DA1. Japanese won't buy foreign rice, so DA1 and DA2 won't happen. Nihon Keizai Shimbun 2013 quote. Even if foreign rice flows in, 80% replied that they have resistance, over 40% because of some safety problems, unquote. And attack 2, DA1, in fact, all farmer under 1 hectare is all part-time farmers who have income from other jobs, so they won't be damaged. In fact, they won't quit. And so the Tokyo Daigaku Suzuki 2013 quote, small-scale rice farmer continue rice farming even when they are in the right omit. 70% of production is by farmer continuing farming in the right omit. According to Nogyo Kyosai Soken 24 survey, 83.3% of farmers answered that they will continue farming no matter what the price become because they cheaply make rice for their home, unquote. And attack 3, DA1 effect. And they can export rice highly evaluated, so there is no damage. And attack 5 and DA2 won't happen because DA1 won't happen. DA1 don't happen. And attack 6, DA2 importance. It's better for economy after the plan than before the plan. Yamashita, Keizai Gakusha Yamashita 2013 quote. People's burdens will be smaller if we import agriculture products at a global standard price and deal with preventing floods and cultivating water resources with dams and planting trees, unquote. So importance is better before the plan. And they attack 7. They didn't prove that the land will be used for housing. It won't and the many functions won't be lost. Norin Kinyu 21 quote. If agriculture production is stopped in Japan and the land will naturally return to woods and marshes. Almost all functions such as making groundwater, maintaining biodiversity and preventing landslides are greater in woods and marshes compared to farms, unquote. So DA2 won't happen.
Thank you. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Akane Nakamura. I'd like to ask you some questions. So firstly, you have 7 attack points, is it right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And on your first attack point, you said that citizens will not buy foreign rice after the plan. Is it
Yes.
right?
Almost all students, 80%.
Because they feel resistance.
And 40% because of safety problems.
Okay, thank you. And on your second attack point, you said that the almost all farmers are part-time farmers, so they will not have damage.
Your DA1 is about farmer under 1 hectare, as I will be said in cross-examination. So all farmer under 1 hectare is all part farmer.
And you said that 83% of farmers will continue farming, is it right?
Yes, so small, yes.
But they said they just want to.
Okay. Small-scale rice farmer now continues rice farming even when they are in the red because.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. I'd like to move on to the next question. And on your third attack point is that there is no damage. There will be no damage.
Attack 4.
Third, on your third attack point, what did you say?
Is we can export rice highly evaluated because you said Japanese rice is highly evaluated in present situation, so we can export.
Okay, thank you. And
So
on your
there's no
fourth attack point, what did you say? What is your fourth attack point?
For attack is disadvantage 2 and so DA2 won't happen and DA2 won't happen. Because
Okay,
DA1 won't
thank
happen.
you. And on your sixth attack point is that the economic burden will decrease because of the.
Your importance is Japanese government lost economic.
Okay, thank you. So could you show me the evidence of 6 and evidence later about them? Okay, thank you. That's all.
Are you ready? Yes. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, Honorable Justice, and all the audience. My name is Eriko Kemoto, and I will begin. So let's start with 82. They say that there's only 675 yen for a month, but however, they are only talking about the average. What we are saying here is that poor people can maximum, they can afford, they can save $30, which means 3,000 yen, which means that there is the average, including people who are wealthy enough to consider about the taste or safety or other factor. So their their evidence is not related to our advantage too. And also they said that 2.1 trillion have to be paid by consumer. But however, they didn't prove that poor people have to pay this. Maybe it can pay by income tax or something else. So it means that this attack doesn't matter. And also, as I attack in attack speech, there is no 2.1 trillion yet. So this attack doesn't mean anything. So it means that 82 still remain completely. Which they the people who can even afford 300 yen for a day can afford more 100 yen for a day. Maybe that can save poor people from starving. So let's go back to 81. So they say that there's many burden, but however, there may be many burden, but in long negotiation we can overcome those burden. However, what we are saying in this presentation was second evidence is that, so I'll quote it, it is always right which remains as the problem. So it means that this is more like a main problem, this is not a main problem, but more like a last problem. So right sides cannot be they agreed by the negotiation. So please confirm this. And also about attack, about importers, they say that it is risky to export, however, they didn't show any evidence. And also, even if this happens, please look at importers 1. Even if this happens, the government is including the situation, and they say that 1.1% only for concluding with China. Only with China, then 1.1%, which means 5 trillion yen. 5 trillion a year will be GDP will improve. And so they didn't talk about this importers 1 evidence, so please confirm this. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now turn the next. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Akane Nakamura. I'd like to make a defense speech. First, our disadvantage one is the damage of rice farming. First, they said that citizens will not buy foreign rice. However, it is not true. People will buy foreign rice because, as we said, 80% of people choose rice by the price. And moreover, according to Japan Policy and Finance Corporation in 2012, if foreign rice becomes cheaper, about 66% of people said they will buy foreign rice. So at least these people will buy foreign rice. And actually, in the past, when CU sold Chinese rice, it was sold very well. So they did ensure that demand will decrease. And next, they talked about that damage to farmers. However, first of all, the process to have the economic damage perfectly remains. So please make sure this point, and we focus on this point mainly. And they said that 83% of farmers can want to continue farming. However, they just want. However, our evidence showed that they will force to quit rice farming. As we said, 73% of farmers will have to quit rice farming even if they can get subsidies. Please make sure. And third, they said that farmers can export rice. However, before they can export rice, they will have to quit rice farming. So their plan just breaks the farmers' lives, and that Japan will lose 1.1 trillion yen worth industry. And next, our disadvantage to the loss of function of rice fields. And they say that forest or other lands have that same function. However, their evidence says that actually government need to pay money to build other new dams or such infrastructure. So they admit and they support, their evidence support our point. And actually, according to our evidence, that the forest or if the farmland will be forest or such things, that the risk will be much higher. And moreover, look at this graph from the Ministry of Agriculture. The green line shows the amount of rice fields has been decreasing. Then the blue graph shows the number of plots. So Ministry of Agriculture say there is a strong relationship. The Ministry of Agriculture proved. So it is a very important point. And after all, government will have to pay 2.1 trillion every year to cover these functions. For these reasons, we should not carry out their plan. Thank you.
Thank you. You ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges and audience. My name is Miki Yamada, and I would like to begin. First of all, I would like to compare 81 and the DH because they were all about national economy. Their importance was about national economy. First of all, please look at 81. We defended that rice is the main problem, is a major problem that can't be solved in negotiations right now. So it's the only problem that can't be solved in negotiations right now. After the plan, because this will be removed, there will be no obstacles that can't be removed with negotiations. So we can conclude FTAs with many countries. So please think of this. And though they said that they weren't sure about the benefits, we proved that just concluding one FTA will increase Japan's economy by 5 trillion yen. This is bigger than, even if the DAs happen, this is bigger than the economy loss they are talking about. So this is very important. And furthermore, there's no attack on that. Japan is being left behind right now, and if this present situation continues, Japan's economy will be damaged, and employment and competitiveness will be lost. So this is very important to do this right now. Please confirm this. Now, let's please look at the negative side. First of all, there was a talk about whether consumers will buy foreign rice, and they showed me their evidence about 66% buying foreign rice, but they only said that if the price is the same as domestic price, if the domestic rice and foreign rice are the same, 66% will want to buy domestic rice. So, as we said, foreign rice will be 1/5 of Japan's rice. So this, so 80% of people say that they have strong resistance against buying foreign rice. So our evidence is much more stronger. And as we proved, 70% of farmers continue farming even if they're in the red right now. And they didn't prove that they will be forced to quit. They just, in their cross-examination, they said that because of lack of profits, they will quit. But as we proved, 83% of all farmers will continue. So farmers will not quit, and rice paddies will not decrease. So there is no economic loss for DA1 and DA2. Now, and finally, even if that is not a vote issue, please look at 82. As we proved, there was no attack that consumers can save up to a maximum of 3,000 yen per month. And what will happen with this, because of this? Right now, 1,700 people are starving to death because of too high food prices. Even though 80% of people won't buy foreign rice, these poor people who are in dire need are able to buy this foreign rice, and so their lives will be saved because they will get 100 yen per day after the plan, and this will just drastically increase the amount of food that they can eat, which is the biggest problem right now. So, in order to save these poor people's lives and for economic benefit, please vote for the affirmative side. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Judges, my name is Asa, and I'm here to summarize this debate. First, I tell the weak points over the advantages. First, the advantage one is about concluding FTA, but it's 2 weak points. So first, they say that we can conclude FTA smoothly, but actually, we have other 9 kinds of barrier except for tariff. This is fact. And they say that the tariff on rice always remains binary, but they did not deny that there is 9 kinds of barrier except for rice. Please make sure this point. And so even if we can remove only the tariff on rice, the difficult situation will never change. They did not prove that we can remove all of these problems, and so this process will never stand. Please make sure this point. So, and they said that this talked about exports, but they did not show the evidence that how much money we can get after the plan from exporting, so their impact is very small, so their advantage one will not stand. And next, their advantage two is about saving per people, but it's 3 points. So first, they say that citizens per people can save cost for rice, but even after the plan, each family can save only 625 yen for 1 month, so citizens' lives will change. And so their calculation is based on the price of California rice, but so it means that when citizens buy California rice, their issue happens, but they did not show evidence that how many people will buy California rice, so they didn't prove at all. And they say that this plan is needed to save per people, that if we don't have this plan, then what will happen? They talked about 1,700 people, but they are not because of the lack of rice. So after all, their ADT has no impact and no necessity, no uniqueness, so their advantage 1 and 2 is quite small. So now I'd like to explain the reason why this plan is not needed for Japan. So first, their DA1 is about damage of rice farming. So they say that citizens will not buy foreign rice, but however, actually, if foreign rice becomes cheaper, about 66% people say that they will buy foreign rice, so our process will stand. So actually importance. So rice farming and its associated industry is very important because it is key industry for Japan. So by this plan, 73% of rice farmers will quit rice farming and 50% of rice production will be lost. The market of these industries worth 1.1 trillion yen will be serious damage. So our DA1 is very serious. And next, our DA2 is about loss of the function of rice fields. And so I tell the importance. So now rice fields have 4 important functions to keep the environment, but after the plan, these functions will be done and the government has to spend 2.1 trillion every year in order to cover them. And the Ministry of Agriculture support this idea, so our presence and impact is sure. So our DA2 is very serious. So finally, I'd like to compare DA1 and 2 and DA82. So under 82, they say that poor people can be saved. But on our DA1, the rice industries will be damaged. It means that the workers will be damaged. And on our DA2, as the attackers say that they have to pay the tax for our DA2. So finally, our DA1 and 2 are bigger than their advantages. So of course, we should not care this one. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not really sure how much time I have for this. Maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, somewhere in between. 3 minutes probably. I really enjoyed this debate, and congratulations to both teams. Unfortunately, only one team can proceed to the final debate, but those teams are great, and you should be proud of your achievements. This is the semifinal, and after the semifinals, we have final debate. And after that, we can all forget the arguments, right? So instead of talking about specifics about this particular debate or regarding this particular topic, we'd like to talk a little bit about some of the basics of debate, arguments, and strategies. Now, the first thing, when you are making disadvantage arguments or even advantages arguments, you are allowed to make 2 big arguments, right? 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages. We'd like to suggest that those disadvantages or advantages can be independent of each other. In other words, in this particular debate, 2 disadvantages negative presented are depending upon one single point. If the rice farmers would quit farming, if the resolution is adopted, right? If the negative wins that part of the argument, probably they can win the link to the first disadvantages or first disadvantage and the second disadvantage. But if they lose that big arguments, they will lose both disadvantages. So my suggestion to you is when you are making advantages or disadvantages of 2 big arguments for the resolution, make sure that those 2 big arguments are independent of each other. They should have different kind of effects and impacts, right? So that you can maximize your strategic benefits. That's the first thing. This applies to any kind of policy resolution. So next time, I don't know which kind of topic you're debating, but probably you should make sure that when you're making disadvantages or advantages, make sure that those are independent. Second, time frame. Time frame, right? Now, if the resolution is adopted, then something will happen and something will follow that, right? We are talking about effects of policy change in time sequence. So for example, today, resolution may be adopted, and tomorrow something will happen, and probably sometime later, something will occur, right? You need to think about the policy change in time sequence. So for example, time frame. Here's one question. Now, if the affirmative is right, probably rice may be the final obstacle for concluding FTA, right? Probably FTA may be concluded sometime if the resolution is adopted. But what about other non-tariff barriers they are talking about? When are those non-tariff barrier arguments will be resolved or negotiated out, right? Who never knows? So maybe affirmative is right. Rice may be the one important obstacle for concluding FTA, but we are not really sure when other non-tariff barriers will be negotiated out or resolved. So we are talking about not only one-time policy change causing something. We're talking about the sequence of something going or taking place in series, right? So you need to think about effects in time sequence. Probably this applies to other kind of topic when you're talking about any kind of policy change. Effective policy change will take place in time sequence. I'm running out of time. Summaries are great. Right. Professor Ogisu told us that summary speaker on the affirmative was great, and probably you need to model after her excellent summary speeches. But that's all for my comments. I need to announce an important thing. We have 5 judges, and 4 out of 1 voted for the affirmative team, Kobe College High School. Congratulations.